Hello, and welcome to Two All Pucks Hockey Chat with Scott and Chris. Today is December 18th of 2019 as the year winds down. And we have some topics, maybe one or two more topics than usual, so we're going to jump right into it. Scotty, would you like to start off, or shall I?
By all means, please.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, well, I think one thing that we should definitely address is the upcoming, with the holidays and so on. People have off from work and what have you, but the NHL schedule definitely takes a little bit of a break with the AllStar break, and there's also some feature events I think that need to be pointed out, and people should. It's about that time where people should be setting their calendars. So. And setting their alarms. I think first of all would be New Year's Day. So January 1st, 2020, only 2 weeks away. We're looking at the Winter Classic, the 2020 Bridgestone NHL Winter Classic. And that's going to be January 1st, 2020 at Cotton Bowl Stadium in Dallas, Texas. So we're going to have the Predators, Nashville Predators versus the Dallas Stars. I think it's very, very cool. I think it's a great venue. It's a perfect day to have it. I think you're going to get a huge audience. You're going to get a lot of crazy people sitting in the stands, and it's going to be, well, how cold would it be in Texas on January 1st?
Um, I'm not really sure. The NHL's got a pretty crack, ice team. Yeah, I got to tell you, I think the games have kind of lost their luster. I mean, it's great for the local fans, but the NHL really, kind of throws a lot of weight behind marketing it. And I got to tell you, I think, I just think that I don't know. I think that it's kind of lost its luster. I think that it's just been overplayed, especially now they're up to they have 18 of these a season. There's 12 of them in Canada plus the Winter Classic. I mean, they were really cool, especially in some settings, when we had some snow and things like that. But
Right.
it's just not really a game I can get too hyped up about. So
I get it. I have mixed feelings on it also, and I'll be honest with you. When I watch some of these stadium series or Winter Classic, I think what might be hurting the sport is when they promote the heck out of it. They sell out a large stadium like this when they initially did, when everything was new and it was a newer event on the calendar. Is when you have a lot of people going to these events, and then once they're there, they realize that they're sitting about 150 yards away. And it's the view is really, really tough. And to make matters a little bit worse and a little bit harder on the NHL is that the game in that venue doesn't translate well over TV also.
right.
Some of the sight lines that the cameras take up, it's not the same as watching a regular stadium or arena game at one of these teams' home venues. So everything is different to the point where I feel like the viewers and the people in attendance are a little bit uncomfortable.
I mean,
That's my take on it.
it's a great atmosphere. And again, people
Yes.
are going to go because it's a new thing. I don't want to call it a gimmick, but I mean, it's definitely cool. They pack the place.
Yep.
But it's just, it's not something that I think is all that interesting to really market on TV. It's really just another game to fans that are outside of the area. There's no extra points. There's nothing
Right.
crazy. It's a great event for the team, for the families, and things like that. Definitely some photo opportunities, things like that. But I just gotta be honest with you, it's just not cool anymore, especially with the way it's been overhyped. And what's interesting too, when we talk about the NHL when it throws its weight behind marketing these things, is that you're going to market to the local audience, which is great, right? You're going to market to the local audience. But then beyond that, now you're talking about marketing to people that are going to watch it on TV. Well, you're not growing the sport, and to be honest, that I think the NHL has a problem with marketing where they're just they're not doing things to grow the sport. I mean, the people that are going to tune in are the people that are going to tune in,
Right.
and as somebody that lives out in California, are they really going to care what Nashville and Dallas are doing at that point in time? I mean, there's really no reason above and beyond, unless it's a transposed fan, for anybody really to tune into that game. So, I'd prefer to see, Olympics. I'd prefer to see, games played overseas, those types of things to really grow the game,
right,
as opposed to, throwing all this weight behind a Winter Classic or Heritage, as they call them in Canada.
right.
I just, again, it's cool for the teams, it's cool for the players, the families, it's cool for the local market.
Right.
I just don't get excited about them anymore.
Got it. Well put, sir. Moving forward, though, and not to dismiss what you're just saying, but
it's fine.
Other things on the calendar coming up, January 24th and 25th of 2020, we have at the Enterprise Center in St. Louis, Missouri, we have the All-Star Game, the official 2020 Honda NHL All-Star Weekend.
Honda, the official whatever of the NHL, as they put those commercials on TV. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, so hey, I do want to, Chris, we do have a comment. So, grow the game in Europe. Why? So, no, hey, appreciate the feedback there. So the NHL, needs to be global, and I really think that if it's going to continue to be the number one market, or the number one league in the world, that it needs to grow its audience. I mean, sure, you've got the KHL, right? You've got the KHL, but and you've got some of the European leagues. You got the Swiss league. You've got places like that. But again, every one of those players grows up aspiring to win the Stanley Cup, and I think that we're going to get to a point like the NFL where you're going to have teams based in Europe. You're going to have teams based in Europe, just like the NFL is going to have a team probably in London here very soon.
That's what the goal of the Global Series is to bring enough attention, like when we had the Sabres and the Lightning play back in on November 9th?
So I think so. And, I see the question is why? Why do we go to Europe? Well, the NHL is a business, right? And so you reach capacity, and I think, you kind of have in the United States, there's only so many more markets that you can go into. Seattle, obviously, they're gonna go into, but I just think that if you're gonna grow the game, you want to get the best players. You really want to expand the game. Then I think you go to Europe. And I think it's the reason why, players are upset, and I think fans are upset that you don't have the Olympics, that they've sat out the Olympics, and they made that decision based on business, insurance costs, and, harm to the league, shutting down for a couple of days. And so, I just think that, they have to work on expanding the game. They have to invest in that. That's just my opinion. I think that's where it's going to go. I think the writing's on the wall with that. They play games in Europe. They fly teams to Europe.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to move into the market there.
Listen, I hear what you're saying, and I kind of see what our commenter, which is Mr. Verified One on Periscope. Welcome, by the way. I mean, when you look at a series, when you look at other sports leagues such as like the NBA or football, there currently are no teams outside of North America that are competing. So there's no other series that is supporting a team on another continent, right, as part of their league. And I think the NHL would be one of the first to do that if it were to happen. But I do see, like you mentioned, the NFL and the NHL holding exhibition games in Europe, but I don't see them on the verge of bringing in a team into the league that will be playing regular season games from Europe.
Sure.
So I think there's two different things there to really consider. One is to support a regular series schedule where a team is on another continent. Now you're talking about exorbitant costs, logistic nightmares, and you want to talk about jet lag. Just going from California to New York is bad enough for a lot of these teams, but now you're talking about flying over to the UK or something. So
I've got some ideas about how you could do it. Like maybe you fly 4 or 5 NHL teams over at one time, and you hold regular NHL games against that one that one team, Listen, you're right. They're not on the verge. They're
Right.
not on the verge. You
Right.
know, that's not something that's going to happen right away. But they've already had several regular season NHL games played in Europe this year and last year. I just think that the market is ripe to expand, and especially with it being a business. So again, we'll see what happens.
I agree with you. Listen, I'm not trying to dismiss the thought, because I
Sure.
think
Yeah.
obviously the more the merrier. But I think going to the extent of drawing in another continent, it's as nice as it would be, and I think as shrinking the globe down to a level where now you're sharing, sports leagues with other continents, that would be amazing, in a very social level, to now be sharing Twitter streams with people from across the pond, and really getting into sort of those like an Islander Ranger game. Can you imagine, like an Islander London game? I mean, oh, they're rivals now or something. It would be kind of cool, but I think it's still, the logistics are beyond the scope of something that the players and the coaches and the league would be able to manage in an efficient manner.
Sure.
I get it, but as we
Yep.
move forward with the schedule,
Yep.
let me, and I'm sorry, verify one, not to dismiss the comment, but we want to move forward a little bit here. We are going over the schedule. The next thing would be our Stadium Series game, which is going to be held February 15th, 2020, at the Falcon Stadium. Whoa, at the Falcon Stadium at the U.S. Air Force Academy, Colorado Springs, Colorado, where you have the LA Kings playing the Colorado Avalanche. Now, as much as I'd like to be excited for something like that, playing at an Air Force Academy location, and where it looks very cool, I am a little bit disappointed with the matchup. And I'm sure that the matchup is, decided well before the season even starts. But Colorado versus LA, how is anyone going to get fired up for this? I mean,
Again,
listen. Are
yeah.
LA fans gonna? Are you going to have more LA fans going to this game? Or I mean, because it's in Colorado's backyard, you're going to have a lot of Avalanche fans going there just because it's there. But
Sure.
I mean, it's not going to be as many as I would think. I mean, how are they going to get fired up for this game? How is anyone
They're,
going to get fired up for this game?
they're not. Again, it's regional. They're gonna roll. They're gonna roll the patriotism thing into it. I mean, they're gonna market the crap out of it. And again, nobody's really gonna care. Just because it's another game. And to your point, I mean, it's LA. It's LA.
Yeah,
Colorado, we know, is probably gonna kick the crap out of them.
yeah,
But again, it's going to be a good background. Hey, the mountains in the background are going to look awesome. If
I
there's
know.
snow, even better, right? Like
Yeah,
picture perfect. If you're a fan of hockey, you're definitely going to watch it. But again, these outdoor games are just, they're gimmicks. And in my opinion, they've just kind of run their course. And sure, it's great for the towns that they're in, because you got all these fans that are coming in, they're filling that, get food vendors, you got all sorts of perks for the local area. But again, I just can't get into the outdoor games unless, of course, you're talking about a team that you cheer for personally.
right,
Otherwise, it's just not something that's, you're going to take your time out to watch. So,
right.
yeah.
So, um,
You did, we did start talking about the All-Star game,
yes,
unless you want to hit the heritage. So my thing with the All-Star game is this. They're doing an All-Star game as a consolation prize because they couldn't do a World Cup of Hockey. Bettman came out earlier in the month, I think, and said, hey, there's just not enough time to put a World Cup of Hockey together. So they're going to do an All-Star game. I think they're throwing it together. I'm just not a big fan of the All-Star game, much like the Pro Bowl, just because I think the All-Star game is better than the Pro Bowl, and at least the players are on the ice trying to score, but there's no hitting, there's no defense. To me, it's just not as fun to watch, especially with the number of 3-on-3s that we're getting routinely in the league anyway.
right,
Again, I think it's another gimmick. And, if you really want to boil it down, the All-Star game, and the World Cup of Hockey are just consolation prizes for not allowing the players to play in the Olympics. And I think that that's ridiculous. I think, trying and the players really, they have to play. They're contractually obligated. And I just think it's ridiculous. You're going to take time off over a weekend to put this together. You're going to fine players or bench players for not showing up if they're picked. I mean, to me, it's just, I understand it's for the fans. But again, where's the All-Star game going to be held this year?
It's going to be in, bear with me 1 second.
That's all right. I didn't mean to shotgun you. I mean, but again,
it's going to be in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah. So as a fan, I'm going to buy a plane ticket and fly to St. Louis? I mean, who are they expecting to market this to? Right.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, you got to remember that the All-Star Weekend consists of the skills competition and then the game itself. I think that the skills competition is worth the ticket, worth the price of admission in itself. I think that's extremely entertaining. I find it to be extremely entertaining, and I do like the fact that they, build upon the records of certain events that, like the speed contest and, the accuracy and the hardest slap shot contest. It's entertaining. I enjoy watching it. I really do have a good time. But where I start to lose interest is how they've started to format the game, the All-Star game itself. And you've started to see players who just, they don't try. It's been a problem. It's been a problem. They've stopped trying, and then they try different formats as far as how many skaters are on the ice. I think they're really struggling. I think it's in a bad spot, and I really can't blame the players because it's a long season. And with the expansion, things are getting longer. It's getting harder. There's a grind. Every team is at a different point in their regular season schedule, where some teams are just on a road and they just, then the All-Star Weekend hits and they just want to break, And then you have the guys from those teams that are in the middle of a road trip that are now asked to go participate in the All-Star game, and it's a big ask. And these guys are now expected to play a full game on a day. Come on. I think you make a bigger spectacle of the make the skills competition into a 2-day thing, where you have you add more events, and you could even add little mini games. Don't make it a full game, though. Make it a fun thing that the players are going to even enjoy. Do a round robin, little 2-on-2 on mini rinks, type of thing, and show off some skills. I could think of a million different things you could have fun with that would show off the actual eye-hand coordination and skill of these players. It's off the charts, and that's the thing that's not really focused on as much as the sheer skill of these guys is through the roof. And to ask these guys to just go ahead and try to, pretend like they're trying in an All-Star game, I get why it's kind of morphed into something that's half-baked.
Yeah, and again, it's the same thing with the Stadium Series. It's the same thing with the Heritage Classics, the Winter Classics. It's a gimmick. Only, this is one of those times when there's players from every team that are going to be there. They try and market it. It's the stars,
right.
But to your point, I mean, there are players that would, I got to tell you, at that point in the season, knowing that, a lot of teams are going to be making a push for the playoffs if they're, not already well entrenched. I don't want my best players going out. I don't want my number one goalie tweaking something, pulling a groin, doing something by trying to make some acrobatic save because it's the All-Star game, right?
Right.
So I'm with you. I think you could do some things that are different, but I'd make it, if possible, I'd make it voluntary. I'd incentivize the players for going, other than just giving a new car or something like that, something along those lines. But to me, I'd much rather see the best players taking a break, and especially just going back to the sheer principle of it. It's not the Olympics, and trying to say, oh, look at how great, look at how we're growing the game, look at what we're doing, and you're not allowing the players to go play on the
every one of these, every one of these guys grew up playing backyard hockey or pond hockey or driveway hockey. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
You know what? Have some fun with it. Shrink the rink down to a little mini rink. You could have 6 little mini rinks on one full-size rink and have these guys play a little 2-on-2 tournament. And now I'm not saying you do that for the whole day, but you do it for, like, a couple rounds and watch and let these guys show off their quick hand skills.
Sure,
it would be
sure.
phenomenal. It would be phenomenal, in addition to
Sure.
a lot of other skill competitions that they're holding.
Yeah.
That's just my thought. All right, moving forward.
So, well, I was going to say, speaking
go
of quick
ahead. I'm
hands.
sorry, sir.
No. Speaking of quick hands, for anybody that's watching, I just want to remind everybody that you can follow us at Twitter at 2oldpucks. We've got a Facebook page out there, again, called 2oldpucks, obviously here on Periscope. And we've got a YouTube channel, and again, called 2oldpucks. And we've got email at 2oldpucks@gmail.com. So certainly interested in any feedback, comments, questions, things you want us to cover. Certainly looking for audience participation. And again, anybody that's listening live, certainly want to invite you to chime in with some comments. So we're all over social media, and share with your friends, share with your family, share with complete strangers. Just bring your friends and tell them to relax and join in with the fun. So, all right.
All 2 people wrote that information down.
Yeah. But hey, 2 people now could be 200 people a month from now.
Yes.
So,
all right, sir. Go ahead.
So a couple things. You had mentioned the Colorado Los Angeles game. And who the heck would want to watch that? And that's a great sort of segue into some news of late. And again, we won't go crazy hanging out on it, but let's talk about Ilya Kovalchuk.
Sure.
So Ilya Kovalchuk was a huge signing. I think his contract was arbitrated and lawyered and went through all over the place several years ago when he signed with the Devils. And it was front loaded. It was one of those contracts that was designed to get around the CBA, the salary cap. And at the end of, going towards the end of his contract, he actually retired from the NHL, went over to play in the KHL, and was there for a little while and ended up deciding he wanted to come back. So they went through all the legal stuff they had for him to come back into the league. And he ended up signing with the Los Angeles Kings. So needless to say, Kovalchuk is he's not as fast as he used to be. He's not lighting the lamp the way that he used to. He's 36 years old. And it really was an experiment, if you want to call it that. Right. The guy was a 3-time AllStar, scored 40 or more goals 6 times. Yep. And that contract was a 15-year, get this, 15-year, $100 million deal with the Devils. He only played for them for 3 years before he left. So, again, came back.
Well, 3 full seasons, you mean?
3 full seasons, excuse me.
Right.
Yeah, 3 full seasons. So he was in the KHL for 5 years. The Kings gave him, I still don't understand this, 3 years at 6.25. And last season, he only put up 16 goals and 34 points in 64 games. So clearly was not the player that he was before. I think he got a contract based on his name. And, this season, he's only played 17 games, 3 goals, 6 assists, 9 points. He just was, and he was getting, on average 15 minutes of ice time a game. So clearly, he was getting ice time. I think it was commensurate with his age and his diminished skill. But at any rate, the Kings waived him. They put him on unconditional waivers for the purpose of terminating his contract. The interesting thing is he waited until after his bonus kicked in. So he got a $2.65 million roster bonus. Yep. And so certainly a dynamic player, when he was at his prime, just a great, great player. So got some highlights up there,
courtesy
NHL.
Of Sportsnet.
Yeah, courtesy of Sportsnet and the NHL. He's been around for a long time, but just didn't work out. So now he's an unrestricted free agent. And I think he's going to end the season that way. I don't think you're going to find a contender that's going to want to pick him up. I don't think you're going to find anybody really that's going to want to grab the guy. He's just not Ilya Kovalchuk anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. He definitely had some silky mitts, but
yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame to see a player fade.
Yeah, especially, I mean, he was a fan favorite, everywhere he went, certainly, had skill, was a guy who was a threat every time he was on the ice. So,
yeah.
Right. So again, as we talk about waivers, we'll go into the next quick topic here, and that's the holiday roster freeze. So starting on December 19th, which is tomorrow, there's a roster freeze that goes out into December 28th. And so basically what that means is that players that are on the roster as of 11:59, midnight, December 19th, will stay with their NHL club. They'll make, if they're on a two-way contract, they'll make their NHL rate. They're not to be sent down or called, they're not to be sent down. So it's a roster freeze, and basically it's meant to have some stability for the players through the holiday roster or the holiday season. So teams are allowed to make moves as necessary for the club to be in compliance with minimum roster or maximum roster numbers. If they have a player that comes off of injured reserve and they need to make a move to get their roster set, they can do those types of things. So, but that's they can make emergency recalls. They can do they can make transactions in those ways. But the roster freeze does come into effect. So I took a look at the waiver wire. Really, there aren't any kind of big names on there. There's and just because players are waived doesn't necessarily mean they have to be assigned. So some of the waivers were made prior to the roster freeze, and some of them were made just because teams had to make some moves for their rosters to be in compliance. So, but the roster freeze starts tomorrow, so no trades, no movement up and down, except really in emergencies.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Anything else, sir? Because we do have a schedule for tomorrow that we would like to go through.
Sure.
Anything else on the item list?
Yeah. So the last thing I wanted to touch on, or actually two things. So obviously, we saw Taylor Hall got traded out to Arizona.
Yes.
Arizona coughed up some role players, depth players, some conditional draft picks. And that was about it. So no big names. And Arizona is really treating this guy as a rental. I don't think he's going to re-sign in Arizona in the offseason, but certainly gives them a new dynamic. And it'll be interesting to see how much damage Hall and Phil Kessel can do out in Arizona.
Yeah.
So anything you want to throw in on that, or?
I know you mentioned Kessel.
Yep.
In listening to the local media coverage, a local media reporter for the Coyotes, and I heard an interview with him on the NHL Network, and they were discussing Phil Kessel very briefly, but he felt that they were barely getting what they should be getting from Kessel, that he was just... There was nothing special about anything he was putting out over there. And to think that Taylor Hall is going to, extract something more out of Phil Kessel, I don't know if he's the guy that I'd be looking to maybe light it up with Taylor Hall.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
go ahead.
I think Kessel left Pittsburgh because he knew his time was up. He went based on Tocchet being the coach. He agreed to get traded to Arizona. There are also, I've heard reports, as well. I've heard the offensive thing, the downsides, but also Tocchet continues to talk about Kessel's 200-foot game, that he's playing a full 200-foot game, which is something that Kessel didn't do before. So, I just think that if they're put on a line or they're put on a power play and
They
they're
are. They're
yeah,
playing the top line. It's Hall, Dvorak, and Kessel on that top line, and then on the first power play, you have Hall, Kessel, Stepan, Dvorak, and Oliver Ekman Larson. I mean,
yeah,
that's a strong power play unit for sure.
yeah, yeah,
For sure. That top line could be interesting, but I mean,
yeah. Again, it's not something we need to dwell on.
yeah,
Kessel could be a streaky player. When he got to Pittsburgh, he kind of was consistent. He put up points. I just think that there wasn't a lot of elite talent in Arizona. I think
right.
having Hall there may help feed Phil Kessel and feed his game. So that's all I'm saying. So time will tell.
Yeah,
Time will
yeah,
tell.
time will tell. I agree with you.
So yeah.
I agree with you.
The last thing I wanted to hit was just give a quick update on the status of teams who relieved their head coaches.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs, and again, we're just going to touch on them real quick.
Right.
So Mike Babcock was fired back on November 20th.
Yeah.
So he was the first coach removed this season. He was replaced by Sheldon Keefe. Leading up to the firing, the Maple Leafs were 0-5-1 in the 6 games previous to him getting fired. Under Sheldon Keefe, the team is now 8-4. So certainly they're winning. It's a small sample size, but I think it's clear that the Maple Leafs are what they want to play for Keefe, or at least right now it's something new. It's a different voice, and they're responding to it. So right. Toronto is trending up since the replacement, and so we'll see if they're able to continue that. Next one is the Calgary Flames. So that was Bill Peters. He resigned on November 29th, but he had actually not been behind the bench pretty much since November 25th, which is Monday. He was replaced by Jeff Ward, and Calgary just continues to roll. They're 8-1 since the coaching change. So they were good before. The coaching change was not made because of a lack of winning. It was made because of reported behavior problems to which he admitted. The remarks that he made and some of the physical interactions that he had with players. So, but Calgary just continues to roll. And the last one is Jim Montgomery, who was let go for what was it again? Oh, right. We don't know. So I'm surprised.
And I'm not even going to tell you what a lot of the speculation is, because it is just that it's speculation. So I'm not going to comment on that. But
There's
some
no reason.
comments have come back to me as far as what people are speculating. And I'm sure you've heard kind of some of the similar things. But yeah, you can't really comment on speculation.
Who knows? But anyway, so he was fired. He's most recently been fired back on December 10th. Replaced by Rick Bowness, who's been in the league for a while. And Dallas is 2-1-1. So, the interesting thing with Dallas is if somebody's not calling them out on social media or within the print media, the players don't seem to get up. So it'll be interesting to see if Rick Bowness or the GM or the owner of the Stars will use the media to help motivate the players.
Yeah.
But yeah, just interesting throwing those teams out. And I think the biggest change, which was expected, was in Toronto, and seeing Sheldon Keefe able to kind of wake his team up.
Right. Got it. Excellent, sir.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to touch upon?
No, I think that's good. That's good.
Okay. As always, we're going to move forward with the upcoming game schedule for tomorrow, Thursday, December 19th. And a few games on the schedule. We're going to start off the Islanders at the Boston Bruins. All right, let me brace myself. I know where you're going with this one.
No, you take it. Throw what you got to throw out there.
Oh, you go. Who are you taking? Islanders at the Bruins?
I'm going to take the Islanders.
I don't believe you. Okay, why are you taking the Islanders?
Well, I think we're starting to see some chinks in the armor with Boston. I think that there may be some fatigue setting in based on the pace that they were setting, and I just think that the Islanders are due for a big win against a big team. I think they're going to be angry after the shellacking they took the other night. I think they're going to reset. They're going to re-engage, and I think they're going to come out and they're going to channel that anger. So,
I've never seen Grice perform like that. I got to tell you, I love Grice. I love him, but I've never seen him perform like that. There were a lot of screen goals. Maybe there were some, I don't know how much of a breakdown in the defense there was, but usually he's much sharper, able to pick up and position himself to pick up the puck around screens much better than he did the other night. But in this game at Boston, Boston's absolutely going to be up for this game. It's a tough one. Two really, really good teams.
Sure. But I mean, Boston's also 4-4-2 in their last 10, right? So I think that the sine wave, I think they're coming down. So, like I said, I think the Islanders are going to be pissed off at that, ass kicking they took the other day. And I mean, there's really there's really no other way to put it. And I'm not trying to drive anything home. I just think that
I got you.
Yeah.
I hear you, man. All right, I'm taking the Islanders in OT.
Okay.
In Boston. Stars at the Lightning.
So again, Tampa is just been disappointing this season. They're fifth in the Atlantic. They're 5-4-1 in their last 10. They're coming off a win, but there's just something weird going on with that team. Dallas is 4-4-2 in their last 10. Yeah. The game is being played in Tampa. Yeah. So, maybe Tampa gets up for that game. They are 9-7-1 at home. But again, I just,
if the Lightning lose, is Cooper gone?
No, I don't think so. I don't think they're going to do anything like that before the new year. But I think that if they lose, the next couple, I mean, I don't think Cooper's the first one on the hot seat, but I think he should be looking in the rearview mirror a little bit more nowadays. Yeah. But I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pick Tampa just because they're playing in Tampa, and I think they're going to get up for the home team.
Yeah. Moving forward, next game. For those of you in Periscope, you want to say hi? Feel free. Any questions? We'll get right to them. Next game, Sabres at the Flyers.
So the Flyers have they've been doing some damage. They're 6-4-0 in their last 10. They've come on pretty strong. I think they've got a recipe there for success. They're catching up after having some issues to start the season. They've got something to play for now. They've got a cause to rally around. The fans are, getting behind them as well. The game is in Philly. I really do think you're going to see the fans really give a good push to the players.
Yeah. The Phillies' home record is 11-2-4. Very, very strong home record. And they have a +5 goal differential. You got Buffalo with an away record of 6-9-4. So you got a terrible away record against a great home record, and a winning record with Philly against a winning streak of one game versus a losing streak of one game to Buffalo. Everything is tilted in Philly's favor for this game.
Yeah, I think Philly's going to win. I think they're going to win pretty decisively, and I think Jack Eichel is going to score another goal.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the sun's going to come up.
Are you saying he's scoring another goal, or he's going to gain another point?
Yeah, I think he's going to score a goal. But the sun's going to rise. Water's wet. Jack Eichel's going to get a point. So yeah.
Okay. Kings at the Blue Jackets, and the Kings are a team in a rare instance here with more wins than their opponent. So they have 15 wins against the Blue Jackets, who have 14 wins. This game is in Columbus.
Yeah, I think Columbus is going to pull it out. I think right now Tortorella has got to be. I think Torts has just got to be pulling his hair out. I think he's going to pull out every stop that he knows, use every curse word that he knows.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I think I think Columbus is going to pull that one out. So we do have a question
We do.
that I see. Yeah, I see.
Get to it, Scotty. I'll let you take this one.
What steps should San Jose take to improve? Usually Jones plays well when the D is on point. So when you take a look at, let's take a look at San Jose. And San Jose has been a perennial playoff team, but they're getting older. And right now they're at a minus 27 goal differential. So offense is definitely dried up. Yeah, offense is definitely dried up. I think that they have solid goaltending. I think your point, California, is right. When the D is on point, I think Jones is able. He's a positional goaltender, and when the defensemen are boxing out or they're allowing him to see shots, I think he's good.
Can I ask you a question? Let me throw this at you, Scotty.
Sure.
They have usually a team will go and have a very strong number one defensive pairing, and what they've done is they've taken their strongest defenders and split them apart. So you have Brent Burns paired up with Dylan, and you have Vlasic paired up with Carlson. I think you have to have that pairing that the other team is going to maybe start to avoid. You need to have something that they're going to avoid. And I understand about spreading out and having, always having something good on the ice that the opponents are not going to be able to read. But I think you have to have that one shutdown pairing, especially on your defense, that you can throw out there. Especially when you have Carlson and Burns on the same, as one of your top six defensemen.
But you take a look at Erik Karlsson, though, and he's not the Erik Karlsson of old either.
Yeah, but why? But why?
He's got a lot of miles. There is a lot of tread.
Not that many miles. Listen, the guy's he's not like a 40-year-old defenseman. This is a guy that was putting up like 70 assists just 2 years ago.
You're right, but do you remember when he sat out a season because of his leg that cut he took? I mean, people just don't come back from that. Point being though is Karlsson is definitely a great player, but you don't put your two top scoring defensemen. You don't put offensive weapons like that. I mean, that's really the thing with Burns and Karlsson. They are offensive defensemen. Well, maybe you put them together on the power play. That's one thing, but you got to split those guys up, and you got to put somebody who's a good two-way or defensive defenseman with them. I think if you get desperate, maybe you put the two of them out there together. But remember, these are guys that are going to join the rush. They're high risk, high reward players. Both of them are, and so you're just not going to put them together in instances like that.
Well, here's the thing. You got Carlson, who's sitting at 26 points, and he's a -4 in his plus-minus, right? You got Brent Burns with 22 points at a -23.
Yeah, but Burns is getting he's getting more ice time, though. I mean, they put that guy on the ice all the time. So,
But how are these things happening with him on the ice? Meaning he's only 50% of the defense.
Yeah,
so you have to start looking at where the other 50% is.
So remember, plus minus.
Would Brent Burns? I'm sorry, not to interrupt you. Would Brent Burns be a -23 if Erik Karlsson was his pairing, defensive pairing?
Maybe. I
don't think so at all.
So I say that because again, you're talking about high risk, high reward, and you're going to see that. You're going to see it. It's high risk, high reward. These guys play a certain way, and so the team has to cover for them. But the other thing too is remember plus minus can be misleading because
but not to the tune of -23.
That's true. As you get extreme, you're certainly gonna see you're certainly gonna be able to gain some things out of there. But I mean, Tomas Hertl's a -15. Kevin LeBlanc is -17. Marcus Sorensen's a -11. So it's clear they don't have good puck possession. I think they're slower. I think they need to get faster. I think they need to tighten up in the defensive zone. And I think they have to give their goalies a chance to make saves. So I think Martin Jones is a decent goaltender, but his save percentage just isn't. It's under 900. I think he's got to clean it up. So
you start to look at, and to your point right there, you start to look at where the forwards are falling into a minus, plus minus rating, and they have negative ratings. how strong of a two-way player are some of these forwards, right? Are they doing their job getting back? Are they doing their job breaking up plays?
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely a defensive breakdown there, and Martin Jones is a strong enough goalie that I think that if you saw the forwards playing a better two-way game and maybe a little change in the defensive pairings, that Martin Jones, his goals against average would go down, his save percentage would go up a little bit, and I don't see things happening. I don't see them. I don't see any turnarounds with the way they're situated right now, unfortunately. And it's a
Yeah.
shame because it's a decent team that shouldn't be having issues like this.
Yeah, no, I agree. But the other stat that unfortunately I don't have time to really look up right now is how many hits. And
I know you like to refer to that.
and I think if you start taking a look at hits, the number of
Right.
hits that players play, you're only hitting because you don't have the puck. And so I bet there's a lot of hits. I bet these guys have a lot of hits. So it's an interesting situation.
Right.
They've been good postseason, almost favorites every year. But I just think that that age is catching up to them. I think that they're going to have to rebuild sooner rather than later. So I know we spent a little bit of time on that. Definitely appreciate the question, and right now when we get the questions, we'll definitely take some time to answer them. So hopefully that covered a little bit.
Question.
Yeah. Hopefully that covered a little bit of what you wanted to talk about. So let's jump right back into the schedule.
Game.
Yeah.
Next game. So who were you ultimately taking in that Kings Blue Jackets? Kings at the Blue Jackets.
I'm going to take Columbus. It's at Columbus. So.
Okay. I guess I'll go Columbus on that one. I don't know why I'm agreeing with you, but I guess, I'll go Columbus. And you're welcome, California. Okay. So, next one. Thank you for the follow, California. We appreciate it. Predators at the Senators.
So this is what's crazy. So Ottawa has been knocking off teams that it has no business knocking off. Or it's been in games that it has no business being in games in. So just recently, back on the 11th, they played Montreal, took Montreal to overtime. They beat Columbus on the 14th, 4-3 in overtime. They just took Tampa to overtime 2 days ago. So, they're in games that in some cases they just have no business being in.
Right.
With that said, I think Nashville is the better team here. I'm going to go with the odds. I'm going to say that Nashville's won 2 in a row. Yeah. It's a home game for Ottawa, but nobody goes to Ottawa games. The rink is quiet, so I think that kind of takes away something from there. So I'm going to go with Nashville. I'm going to say Nashville's going to take that game.
Yeah, that minus 19 goal differential scares me for Ottawa. So they do have a winning record at home, but Nashville also has a winning record away. And a better goal differential of +9. So, plus they're on a 2-game win streak. They killed the Rangers. They killed the Islanders. So I'm going to continue that. They're going to be happy to be home. They're going to be pumped up that they had a good road trip. And I think they're going to take... Wait. I apologize. It's still in Ottawa.
Yeah.
Right. So they swept... Still, they had a strong New York showing. They're going to continue it into Ottawa. I think they're just going to continue the momentum either way. I think the Predators are going to win this.
Yep, I think so too.
Blackhawks at the Jets.
Chicago is bottom of the league. They're basement dwellers. Jonathan Toews kind of shell of himself, what he used to be. I think they're playing in Winnipeg. Where if you ever have a chance to go to a Winnipeg game, I would definitely dump money into the 50-50 because folks walk out of there with 5 figures in their pocket in those 50-50s. That crowd is loud. The team is very well supported. They're 10-6-1 at home. So I think Chicago is going to go into a hostile barn, and I think Winnipeg's going to pull it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Jets are going to win this. I wasn't even going to look at any other stats. I just
Yeah,
knowing,
no,
I'm just going with the Jets on this one. It's just
call me color commentary. So,
Hurricanes at the Avalanche.
well,
Did you happen to see that Colorado St. Louis game the other night?
bits and pieces of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well played game on both ends. It was. It seemed the score, I don't think, accurately reflected just the opportunities that both teams had. I think they were just the Blues just finished their opportunities a bit more. It was a very well played back and forth game. Both teams played really hard. It was nice. It was a fun game to watch.
Yeah, I would say both teams that you mentioned are fun. Colorado and St. Louis. Colorado was potentially a landing spot for Hall, and that was because that the thought process is that they are just so close to really doing some damage in the postseason. So, now Carolina, moving on to the game. So Carolina's going into Colorado. Colorado is 10-3-2 at home. So clearly they enjoy being at home. Carolina is 11-6-2 on the road. So clearly it's not that big of a deal for Carolina to be on the road. I mean, you have two pretty close teams that are playing each other. Carolina has 44 points to Colorado's 45. Both are in the plus column for goal differential. And so I think it's going to be another one of those great games. I think the crowd again is going to push Colorado over the top, but I think this one has the potential to go to extra time.
Yeah.
But I think Colorado is going to pull it out.
This one, yeah, because I'm pretty split on it. I'm just going to take the home team, so I'm going to go with Colorado. The stats are very similar. It's going to be a tight game. I really, really, really like that top line for the Hurricanes, Aho and Teravainen. I just love how they play together. The same way though that McKinnon is. He's playing strong with Rantanen. So it's just like the 1-2 punch for both teams is really strong. It should be a really fun game to watch. So Canadians at the Flames.
Montreal has been. I don't know. Montreal. It's such an enigma. If Carey Price is on, he can carry that team on his back. He can win with one goal scored. With that being said, if he just has just a bit of an off night, Montreal is just such high expectations with such upper middle class players and a world class goaltender that is really just getting beat up night after night. So the game is at Calgary.
Right.
Calgary is 7-2-1 in their last 10. They're 10-5-2 at home.
Yeah.
They're. I think that'll be a boring game to watch, to be honest with you. But I think Montreal is gonna eke that one out.
Right. I don't think a game could get any further as an away game as Montreal traveling across the continent to Calgary. So just based on that, I think it's probably one of the, other than choosing the color of their uniforms and what's my favorite, I think that might be the second weakest argument for me to root for the Flames. But I think I'm going to go with the Flames. That's it. I'm not going to go too deep into that one. Sometimes I'd rather break out the analytics, and sometimes I'm just like, you know what? They're wearing their shitty third jersey, and I don't think anyone's going to like it. So
could be. Yeah.
Wild at the Coyotes.
I think Hall's going to inject some energy into the lineup.
It's at home.
Yep. I think you're going to see Arizona, which is number 1 in the Pacific Division.
Yep.
And you're looking at Minnesota, which is 6th in the Central.
Yeah.
And I just think, let's see, where this game is at Arizona. Minnesota is 7-13-2 on the road. I don't think we really need to go too much further. I think Arizona is going to pull this one out pretty handily.
At home.
Yeah.
I would agree with you. I'm taking Arizona.
All right.
Golden Knights at the Canucks.
This is, pretty easy for me, I think. I'm going with Vegas on this. Vancouver, has Vancouver's at 36 points. Vegas is at 43. Both teams
are
at a
division battle here. This is a interdivision battle.
It's within the division, yeah. And so it's
Vancouver needs this game, and it's at Vancouver.
It is at Vancouver. So Vancouver's coming off of right now. They've lost 3 in a row, whereas Vegas has won 3 in a row. So I think Vegas is a good travel team.
They are.
They're 9-7-2, but I think that they travel well. And I think if Flowers in the net, that guy is an X factor in the same way that Carey Price is. And I think if Flowers between the pipes and he's on, Vegas has the firepower to overwhelm Vancouver.
I would tend to agree with you. However, I think for a team like Vancouver that's down, that has had some mild success in the first half of the season, that this is one of those pivotal games. This is a game that could really, change the mentality of the team a little bit. You're on a 3-game streak. This is a division battle. You win this game and you're fired up, and you go into, the next bunch of games. This is the type of thing that could really turn you around for a handful of games. So I'm going to take Vancouver at home on that one.
All right.
And
big night. Big night.
Yeah, it is big
NHL.
Night.
Lots of games. Yeah.
Yeah, that is. It's going to be a good one. That wraps up the schedule for Thursday, December 19th. We will be back with our next 2-0 Pucks Periscope broadcast on Sunday, the 22nd. So we will have more topics to discuss and more games to project. But I think that's a wrap for this evening, Scotty. Anything else you'd like to throw?
No, I just appreciate the interaction tonight, especially the back and forth. Hopefully, we were able to address some of the comments that were there, and found it, I had fun doing it. I like interacting with the audience, so I think that was good. And so, if you like it, come back. If you didn't like it, come back, because we're getting better every week or every broadcast. So, but
please
we're out
follow,
there.
subscribe.
Yep. And, follow, subscribe. Yeah.
Join the conversation.
Yeah. So,
all right, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone who watched, who participated, and we'll see you again this Sunday. But hope everyone has a good evening.
Yep. Thanks.